Hello and welcome to the Strong Friend podcast with Jack and Lewis. And we're back for season 2. Today we recap what happened since we've been away in our little break and what we've done differently this time around for this season. So sit back, have a listen, and don't forget, please like, subscribe, and share this one with a friend. Enjoy. One thing that I can take from this break is that I've missed the podcast loads, and when you get out of the habit of doing it, it makes it hard to get back into that routine.
100%, yeah. I feel like I don't know, man. I just think not doing it again, like you say, it's just been shit. Like with everything that's been going on.
I don't really think there's been a benefit from us doing it. It's been nice to do it over Christmas. It's been nice to even though I haven't had a fucking Christmas.
Yeah, no, you haven't, have you? Because you've been stuck in London.
Yeah. So, whether we do just a 1 or 2 week break next time.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Just to give us like a form of a holiday rather than I think it's been 4 or 5 weeks since we've.
Yeah, but a lot's gone on there, hasn't it?
Well, let's recap what's gone on then. So since our last podcast, I've had and passed an exam. I've changed. I've changed what I do for a living.
Yeah.
I've been put into tier 3, which means that things were all shut. All the restaurants were shut, but you were still allowed to go to the gym.
Yeah.
The next day, the government then put us in tier 4.
Yeah.
Which meant anyone in London wasn't allowed to go home for Christmas. So I was in London for my first ever Christmas in London. Yeah. And then since that, it's been pretty locked down and pretty shit.
Yeah.
To be honest, it's very hard for me to come on the podcast and say how brilliant life is, because objectively it isn't. I mean, don't get me wrong, we can put a positive perspective on things.
Yeah.
We can change our perspective and we can change the way we see it. But objectively, the situation over the last few weeks since we stopped doing the podcast has been shit.
Yeah. Everyone knows what we're talking about, though, because everyone's been through it. But I think, especially in your situation, not being able to go home, I thought that was a horrible move by the government. I do, honestly. It was literally the day before, and they said, no, you got to stay now. And I think, especially with Christmas, it's such a big event, and having to sort of just not have a Christmas is crap. At least, I think since the last podcast, we've been, where I live, obviously, it was in tier 3 from the get-go, wasn't it? And you were in tier 2 for quite a while. So we already, obviously, there was only one place in Staffordshire where there was, tier 2. And since then, we went to tier 4, didn't we? And then they came on a couple of days ago and chucked us into a lockdown.
National
lockdown. And then on top of that, you've got everything that's going on in America. It's very, very easy to get overwhelmed when you turn the news on. And I think, like you just said, objectively it is crap. But in terms of your individual situation, there's always stuff that you can do to make yourself feel better. But at the moment, I know that, especially with me and you, we love going to the gym, don't we? And to have that again taken away, because the last time it was right, okay, we're in tier 3, but I didn't really mind.
But we know how much it affects people's mental health, so we'll keep the gyms open. Yeah,
I understand that, for some people, their sort of social interaction is going to the pub. Do you know what I mean? That's good for their mental health, whereas for us, I really feel like going to the gym is what we're all about. So in tier 3, I was like, yeah, that's fine. I don't mind too much because I know I can go to the gym. So I was getting into a routine again, and I was getting my cardio up and my weight training, and I was back up to doing the 50 kg dumbbells, and all that was fine. And then it was all of a sudden, next day, it's right, we're in national lockdown again, and you've got to go back to using your shitty resistance bands.
Yeah, well, we went from tier 2 to tier 4 all in the space of 48 hours.
Yeah, that's just... I don't want to get too political on you, because I know everyone has their own views and stuff, but I do feel like every single time the government fail to act quickly enough, and then that's why they end up having to take drastic measures. Yesterday, What was it? 2 days ago, schools went back for one day, and the day that night they were like, "No, schools are closed now." It's like, what?
So I was listening back to. So I was on a bike ride the other day because since the gyms have been closed, I go on bike rides because that's one of the only things where I can really push myself and it doesn't hurt. Like it doesn't. If I go for a run, it'll hurt.
Yeah.
And if I do like HIIT workouts, there's always something that hurts. Whereas bike, it's quite easy to really, really push hard and nothing hurt. And during it, I was listening back to our podcast, which was I can't remember which. I think it may have been getting. No, I tell you what it was. It was the get out of your rut.
Yeah.
Because I felt in a rut because I hadn't been doing my exercise. I hadn't been getting up early. Fallen back into some old habits.
Yeah.
So I decided to give that podcast a listen. And then on that podcast, because we were still in the November lockdown at that point, I said during the podcast, what is he going to do? Is he going to open it up in December just to have his lockdown all through January again? Or is he going to stay strict? And so everyone has known for the longest time that if we were to be let out in December, we were going to be locked down for January and for February. But we all went through with it because we had the thought in our head that we would have a normal Christmas. So for us, that was the trade-off. The trade-off was a normal Christmas for a lockdown January, but yet they take away the normal Christmas. So they say, no, sorry, you get a lockdown Christmas. Oh, yeah, by the way, you also get a lockdown January. Thank you very much.
And almost, well, they're saying now it's going to be till at least the end of March, aren't they?
Yeah,
that's what they're saying now.
Yeah.
There's just simply not enough time. And I know I'm sick of hearing it myself about, like, as soon as you turn on the news, it's this, and this. But it all comes back to coronavirus and lockdowns and people, like, if you go on Facebook, I've tried to avoid going on because, again, like, there's so many arguments on there, and I don't like getting involved or anything like that. But it's just so much, like, negativity all the time. It's easy to understand why me and you've been feeling crap. And I don't want to make excuses, but obviously you've got the city life, which I kind of wish I had, because obviously in the city you can just hire a bike without actually purchasing one, can't you?
Yeah.
Whereas I can't really do that here. Like, I can't. I think the closest thing we've got is like an electric scooter in the town centre, which obviously isn't going to do much. But obviously in the city, it's like there's nice views and you can just hire a bike out for an hour, and there's obviously nice parks. Whereas here, it's just been ice and shit. Yeah, you know what I mean? It's horrible.
Yeah.
But
no, I agree with that. There's pros and cons to it, isn't there?
Yeah, mate. Yeah, there is.
Yeah. It's horrible to think that so much of our life has been taken out of our control. That's what is the hard thing to accept. And I feel that when we were back in the first lockdown, because it was summer, because everyone had hope that we were going to have a normal summer, I was like banging the outdoor workout. I was like filming it. I was doing all this. I was being really proactive with it all. And now I get up in the morning and I feel like an 80-year-old man. Like all my joints are aching. I'm hobbling to the living room. I turn the lights on. They blind me in the morning. You
shorter days.
You get about, and people who seriously work out will understand what I mean. You get 20 minutes into one of these workouts because you do force yourself, because you are addicted to the gym.
Yeah.
And you force yourself to do these workouts, and you get 20 minutes in, and the time is almost exactly 20 minutes, and you think, fuck this.
Yeah.
Fuck this. This is doing nothing for me. I'm not enjoying it. Fuck it.
Yeah. There's too much relaxation. Like, I feel like when you go to the gym, as soon as you step into that building, straight away your brain associates it with training hard, working hard. You can go into that mode, whereas when you're at home, like you say, you do 20 minutes and then you're just looking around and there's distractions everywhere. You can see your Xbox in the background and you're thinking, I might just jump on that instead. And mate, I did a workout the other day and I used the resistance bands. I've got I think I showed them you before, you know what I mean, they're all different colours. And then I've also got the resistance bands that you use for squatting, and you can like train your glutes with them and stuff. And I did a good workout, to be honest, but it was like after 20 minutes, like you say, it's like you almost hit a barrier.
Yeah.
It's like,
It is.
how
It's the
could you
20-minute
do
barrier.
it? Could you do it? You couldn't do like in the gym. You do like what, an hour and a half, and it
Yeah,
goes
easy,
flies by.
easy.
Yeah, but at home, it seems like you look down at the Fitbit and I'm like, oh, it's been like 15 minutes. Like, come on, what's going on here?
Yeah, but also, let's say we do an hour and a half at the gym. We go in the gym, we do some weights for an hour and a half. We're probably burning about 1,000 calories.
Yeah.
In that one session, like probably about 1,000 calories on average from what I used
Yeah,
to track on my Fitbit.
definitely.
And then I've been doing like a HIIT workout here, and I've been working my arse off for 45 minutes.
Yeah.
I'll check the Fitbit, and it'll be like 3 calories. Like, well, how the fuck does that work then?
I don't know how it works, but I think obviously the difference now as well, like you say, is it's not summer anymore. So in the summer it was easy to go running, whereas now, like you say, you wake up, it's pitch black. It's pitch black by, I mean, what, we're recording this at 5:30.
Yeah.
Pitch black again. So you're tired, and I feel like as well, because you're not moving your joints as much. As people who go to the gym a lot, like, you start to seize up, don't you? And you start,
you do.
Yeah.
Yeah. I had to call the doctor this week, and he said to me, because I said to him, he was like, "Oh, have you got any other symptoms?" And I went,
Yeah.
"Well, I've got joint aches and muscle pain, and, like dull aches, but I don't know whether that's from the gym being closed or mental fatigue, or whether it's something to do with something else." And he just said to me, he said, "Yeah, it's a horrible place to be," and he said vitamin D. And us lacking vitamin D is such a massive thing at the minute. And I've heard that from someone else, as well, about vitamin D. And that's, I know that the main place people get that from is sunlight. But it's now more than a coincidence that a lot of people are telling me, if you want to feel healthier and feel better, like with your muscles, with your bones, vitamin D is so important in your life.
Well, mate,
it makes you want to fuck off somewhere who's fucking sunny year round.
Yeah, we should do what all these influencers are doing and go Dubai.
Yeah.
That's another thing that I want to touch on. But the vitamin D thing, it's funny because I was actually speaking to my mum and she was like, yeah, because she's got like vitamin D supplements, and she was like, and I have the vitamin D supplements as well, and we're doubled up on them, and because obviously we're not getting any vitamin D at all, are we?
Yeah.
And it feels nice, man. It is definitely essential to mental well-being. They always say, don't they, go for a walk? Well, it's like if you compare walking on a treadmill to walking outside is so much better because, like you said, you've got natural sunlight, you've got the fresh air. So it's one of them, but man, I digress a little bit, but I saw something the other day and it really pissed me off. And it was on Instagram. There was an influencer, I can't remember who it was, but there was loads of influencers, and the majority of them are in Dubai, aren't they, at the moment?
Yeah, they are.
And I'm not that bitter or anything that they're there. If I was in that situation, I'd probably do the same, and I'm not sure, but it was the fact, what annoyed me more than anything was the fact that they were sharing on the stories all this drinking and being around each other and having a laugh when they knew that we were in lockdown, and then they were putting the image for, like Shout UK and all the other mental health services, and it's like, you cannot fucking sit there and be hypocritical and be sending me, while the public and the people that look up to you, all these mental health phone numbers, whilst you're sitting in Dubai having the best time of your life.
Yeah.
And I just found it like hypocritical, and I just thought, this is the difference. Do you know what I mean? Like, yeah, it's great for the work purposes. I mean, come on, man. Let's be honest. It ain't work purposes.
Yeah,
It's sunny in Dubai,
creation,
and it's shit in England. But don't be a hypocrite and be living your best life. But then, but if you're struggling in the UK, here's a little mental health number that you should call. Yeah. It's kind of like a big fuck you, isn't it? In a way.
Do you know what I think? It's one of the best influential people who's come out of this whole COVID situation. It's Marcus Rashford.
Yeah,
mate, the amount of things he's done.
The campaign that he did. Yeah, completely
feeding kids and just all off his own back, and that's the kind of thing that you love to see. So positivity-wise, like,
Yeah.
because we're being very negative right now.
I know,
Let's-
yeah.
Let's stop shaking our fist at the sky. So Marcus Rashford, one of
Yeah.
the brilliant example of someone who's turned his platform into doing something that's brilliant,
Yeah. Yeah.
and
He
very and really putting pressure on the government to make a U-turn on the food campaign. And not just that, since I think now the government know that there's this pressure on them to provide the free school meals. I don't know whether you noticed it, but within this lockdown announcement, they made sure to mention as one of the key points that they are still going to continue to provide free school meals.
did. I saw it, man.
That is all because of a footballer's actions. So we are very quick to jump on influencers when they are doing this irresponsible shit.
Yeah.
But they do have that position where they can do what Marcus Rashford has done, because he's an example of it. So because influencers will say, "Oh, you hold us in too high of a position." We do, but it's because you have the power to do what someone like that has done.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, you have that platform. So I love seeing stories where people who have that sort of social influence are able to use that for good.
Yeah.
And not just by sharing a story, like sharing a screenshot of something and then thinking, "Oh yeah, there's my
Yeah.
social justice for the week.
Yeah.
Put that one in the bank.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
Add it to highlights."
Yeah. Yeah. No. Yeah.
I think we should make more of a deal of the Marcus Rashfords of this world rather than the influencers who are in Dubai. And
Yeah. Well, that's the thing, though. He's actually famous for talent. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, his story was inspirational, and the fact that he literally made Boris Johnson look stupid,
Yeah.
and literally like a couple of days later, because so many people were behind it, he completely reversed what he was saying. So yeah, man, like, hats off to Marcus Rashford and people like that. Again, sports personalities who've come from nothing. They especially with footballers, they truly know the definition of hard work, because that kind of training on that level, day in, day out. Do you know what I mean? It gives you a different appreciation. So
Well, it goes back to what you just said about having a struggle. Like,
Yeah.
he had a struggle.
yeah.
Um,
When he mentioned about his mum and stuff.
Yeah, anyone who's been through a struggle can put themselves in the shoes of those who are currently struggling, because
Yeah.
you've been there and you've done it. Like, we have been there and we've done the depths of our experiences of
Yeah.
mental health. So that's why we can empathise with people who are
Yeah.
struggling at the minute, because we've been there and we can go back in our memories and we can imagine what it's like to be there.
Yeah.
Whereas there's times where some people are trying to empathise and they just can't, because they've never
Yeah.
experienced it.
Yeah. And
I've never experienced, like, for instance, like postnatal depression. I
Yeah.
think that must be one of the most awful things, where you've had a child and you've got the postnatal depression where you almost don't like yourself
Yeah.
and the child. And
I've heard some horror stories about
Yeah.
like that, and they get intrusive thoughts about the baby and all
Yeah,
that stuff.
yeah,
It
yeah.
sounds horrible.
And we cannot talk about that kind of stuff because we do not know what it's like. We can talk about our experiences with depression,
Yeah,
but
yeah,
that's all we can offer. I think
Yeah.
people who have been through struggles, you can always tell who's been through a struggle, or someone who can relate to you, because they're almost on like a different wavelength.
Yeah, I feel like we always talk about stuff like you say that we have got experience with, and the very fact that me and you, I think we've both struggled over the last few weeks, haven't we? And the fact that where we are right now mentally, anyway, for someone who is in our position, how we were 5 years ago now, it's very, very easy to emphasize, like, sort of sympathize and think, well, for me, for example, 5 years ago, in this lockdown situation, I would be a terrible, terrible place, man. Do you know what I mean? It's only now that I've got a really good grasp on coping mechanisms and all this other kinds of stuff, but it's still having an effect. Can I imagine the people that are really that haven't got a grasp on the mental health yet? How are they dealing with it? Do you know what I mean? That's why it's so important to do the podcast and stuff like that, and to actually actively talk and not just sit there and put one little picture up and I don't know, man. It's just Do you see what I'm trying to say or not?
Yeah, yeah.
It's not.
And I think us, yeah, like you say, us getting back into it and us actively having conversations about this sort of thing, where we are using our tiny platform for good and for positive affirmations. I know we started the podcast quite negative, but
but I think
I
it's
feel
important
like
to address that though.
The tone of what we're saying. So although yes, we do talk about things that are objectively negative and objectively shit situations. However, we can always turn it into a learning and how we deal with things. So like, for instance, an example of this is Luke knows that he's bad with accountability when he's been doing the same thing for a long time, and when he's not got the gym.
Yeah,
so
definitely.
Lou reached out to me and said, can we set up some form of accountability for January?
Yeah.
Because I want to make sure that I stick to my goals. And that is from learning from... So he's taken the situation that we are currently in, which is objectively shite. He's taken his weight loss journey that he's on and that he really wants to do, and learned from previous behaviour and said, okay, I know that I'm not good in these situations, so I'm going to do this. And I feel like everyone who's been through these lockdowns at the minute is doing that in some way, whether you recognise it or not.
Yeah.
You have learnt about yourself from these previous lockdowns, and I'm sure that everyone listening, everyone who has been through it, has done something this lockdown that is at least a positive way of getting you through it. And a positive change.
Well, they've got more experience in it now, haven't they? So it's like, as soon as you go into it, it's like, well, what didn't work last time, what did work, and you can literally just take what did work. And that's why, as soon as it happened, I messaged Jack, and I was like, I know in these situations, I struggle with binge eating. Me and Jack never know that, like, that's no lie. So I said, if I can message you every night, my calories in versus calories out, that alone will be enough for me to stay on the ball, to not sort of eat crap and that for a week, and then, because like, if I just let myself go and don't really consciously think about it, that's what I would end up doing. I think that's sort of like my predisposal of trying to deal with feelings, etc., and loneliness. You know what I mean, with the lockdown. So I don't think it's just me. I think there's so many people during a lockdown where, when you're sitting at home, the only thing to do is watch TV, exercise, or you can go the other end of the spectrum and just order food, can't you? And it's
I do think that more people, I think people need to give themselves more credit. Is what I'm trying to say. I think people have fallen back into the oh shit, here we go again. And we need to recognise, yes, you're right. Here we go again. You're right. Yes, you're right. Here we go again. However, what are we doing different? What are we doing that's different? How can you do something this time that is an improvement from last? So, what Lou did was a monstrous achievement, really, because not only has he recognised he's got a problem with binge eating, he's also then actively pursued a way to control that and to try and help that. Now, Lou, if you let's say we had a lockdown 2 years ago, I don't think you would have even...
That's what I was trying to say. I don't think I would have even... I wouldn't have even contemplated messaging you. I would have just been a failure.
What I'm saying is, I'm not sure you'd even contemplate your binge eating as being a problem.
Yeah. The ability the ability to actually recognise and be truthful and honest with yourself is one of the first steps that you can. And that's exactly why it was like, right, no messing around, no lies, no bullshit. Just be honest. If you can't be honest with yourself, then you've got a problem. And I've had many times where I haven't been honest with myself. And it's all a learning curve. And I feel like with the news when we're watching it constantly, which is what a lot of people are doing lately, it just that alone can make you feel very, very isolated. But if you actually just turn it off, you realise that actually your life, although it is different, it's probably not as different as what you actually think it is. You know what I mean?
Very true.
Like, you've still got
Very
individual
true.
choices. You've still got choices of what you can put into your body. You've still got the choice of exercise. Do you understand what I'm saying? It's just the fact that you get really negative and you think, well, I can't go out, which, yes, I agree, it's horrible. But again, your actual individual life, it doesn't change a whole lot. It's just a lot of scaremongering.
That's a very good point, man. And that goes back to one of our podcasts when we were talking about you've got your bucket of water.
Yeah.
You've got your bucket of water and there's some dead plants out there. Make sure you water those that you can actually grow.
Yeah.
Control what you can. Lou knows that he can control his eating, so he has done.
Yeah.
That's such a massive achievement, man. Honestly, it's such
Yeah.
a massive achievement. And that every time we do this, we're getting stronger. We are getting stronger, believe it or not. Because I know that we've
come off negative at times,
yeah.
but again though, Jack, I don't feel like you're giving yourself enough credit, because I actually don't think that we're that negative at all. I feel like we always turn it around. Even the most serious podcast that we did, there was laughs in there, and there was positives, and it's not like a doom and gloom kind of thing, man. So I wouldn't worry about that too much.
No, it's
people are going to grow with us.
I think there's two scenarios that you get, because sometimes when people are complaining a lot, and when people are just trying to vent and just get things off their chest and go, oh, this is shit, this is shit, this is shit. It's very therapeutic for people to say that, because it's almost like a releasing pressure from a balloon, okay?
Yeah.
But the person listening is on the receiving end of that. So you've got to be very careful when you're venting to make sure that you're not just
bringing other people down with you.
Yeah, you've got to make sure that you're not burdening people with it, because there could be someone dealing with twice as much stuff, and if you're burdening them with even more, then that's not okay.
It's not okay, yeah.
There's a difference between venting and
trying to make people feel shit, so it makes you feel better, sort of thing.
Yeah.
It's kind of like the mentality that, because I'm feeling down, I'm going to purposely
bring you down with
yeah, because then that makes me not feel so alone, which it's pretty toxic in a way. But like, I just want to pick up on one thing that you said about control, like not watering dead plants, and it's kind of like today you turn on the news, and I turned it off, because although what's going on in America is horrendous and horrible and all the rest of it, there is physically nothing that I can do. So I am much better off turning it off and focusing on myself, because I don't have all the answers. I'm not God or whatever. Do you see what I'm saying? So I can either focus on that all day and make myself feel really negative, or I can say, right, I'm going to switch the TV off, I'm going to exercise, I'm going to do this and this, and improve your own mental health. Whereas we're addicted to negativity. I think we're sort of predisposed to just listening and absorbing and giving out negativity, which is why me and Jack, even though we are negative at times, we always turn it around and we're like, no, come on now, we're positive. And that's what,
so and that is a good thing. So I always try my absolute best, whether it comes across or not, in everyday life, to if someone's venting to me, if someone's just full on venting, I understand that they need to do that, and I will always give them a positive. Like, you feed me a negative, I'll give you a positive. And sometimes that's brilliant, because it can really inspire people. And it can just pull someone out of their depths. But sometimes it can also be a real bad thing, because someone can say, shut up, I just want you to, like, just tell me that. Sometimes you just need to hear it. Yeah, it is shit. You know what I mean? So you've got to be, because a lot of people right now are venting. And you've got to assess whether the right thing is to give them positivity back, which I think is 99% effective. And you can get mad at someone giving you positivity, but it's never offensive. but you've also got to remember that sometimes people just want you to say, yeah, it's shit, rather than, oh no, this is great, or oh no, this is actually a lot better than you think. You know what I mean? It's
So in that respect, basically what you're saying is people can even almost get offended by it, can't they? Like,
yes, yeah, no, that's what I'm trying to say.
yeah. I know what you mean, but mate, I was a perfect example of someone that would get offended by the truth because I sort of, I don't want to. I don't know. It's hard to explain without coming across as a bit of a dick, but it's almost like, as hard as life is, at times you've just got to be like, right, okay, I've been through this. I'm going to have to accept it, and what can I do to move on? I can't keep living in this place where I want people to feel sorry for me. And at the end of the day, ultimately, if you are going through that, you need to get to that point where you're like, I'm sick of people feeling sorry for me. I'm sick of giving out this vibe. I want to grow now. And ultimately, I feel like when you go through traumatic events, it ultimately leads to this spiritual, emotional, physical, just growth, like complete growth. It ends up being, as horrible as it can be, it ends up being one of the best things that's actually happened to you. Because if me and Jack had never been through any sort of mental health issues, and we wouldn't be doing the podcast because we wouldn't even be in this mindset. Do you see what I'm trying to say, Jack?
Yeah. I think people refer to it as taking extreme ownership.
Yeah.
And there's a person called Jocko Willing that talks about it. And I was actually listening to something the other day. It was one of my many motivational videos that I love to listen to. And I want to know what you think about it, actually.
Yeah.
So he said, in life, it's better to take ownership or take responsibility of every single thing that you possibly can. And that means that if an asteroid was to hit, let's say an asteroid was to come down and hit Emily, okay?
I hope that doesn't happen, man.
But I do not. I'm touching wood.
Yeah.
So you've got to accept that there is something that you could have done. And in that sense, what he meant was, he said, not in the literal sense of you could have pulled her away from an asteroid, in the sense that you could have studied astrophysics. You could have gone to the government where they track these sorts of things and track asteroid impacts, and you chose not to do that because it's not high risk for you. It's incredibly unlikely that happens. So you chose to not focus on that, but you still have to accept that there is part of you that does take responsibility for that. And I think what I got from it is not in that literal sense of taking blame, of blaming yourself, but to take on full responsibility of your life, and to say every single decision you make, no matter how big or small, every single decision you make is yours, and whether you like to believe that or not, it's true.
Yeah, so I think
I wanted to know what you take from that sort of analogy. And
the most simple thing that I would take from that is, the sooner that you can take responsibility for stuff, the sooner you can move on.
Yeah.
Because you see people that they've had traumatic things happen to them 30, 40 years ago, and they're still living in that memory over and over again. So in that respect, maybe if you, the sooner that, for me, I feel like the sooner that you can learn this concept of acceptance, the sooner that you can start growing. Because as long as you're in denial or arguing with yourself over something, if you could just accept it, which in a way maybe that's what he's trying to say.
Yeah. I think it's
then you can be like,
accepting responsibility. That's because you're accepting yourself, and you're accepting the situation. You're accepting everything around it.
Once you've accepted responsibility, you know what I mean? What else is there to do then? Well,
no, exactly. Besides move on.
Yeah, you have to. It forces you to move on. I'm a big believer that we should be moving on from our traumas. It doesn't mean you don't carry them with you. and they still have a part of your life, but again, that Peter Levine said, and I've said that quote many times, that trauma is a fact of life, but it doesn't have to be a death sentence, and it really doesn't. Whereas I feel like a lot of people, because we don't really know how to even deal with these traumas, let alone process them, we end up holding on to them. You had do you know what I mean? You have something traumatic happens to a child, and when they're 70 years old, they're still living in that memory, and it's a lifelong. It doesn't have to be a lifelong process of self-blame and self-hate. It really doesn't. That's what I'm getting from it anyway.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with you, because I think that when I was going through my breakup, I was listening to a Will Smith thing that said, it's not your fault that your partner fell out of love with you or whatever, but it's for damn sure your responsibility to not let it control your life. And like he'll say, yeah, it's not your fault that you will let go from your job, but it's for damn sure your responsibility to learn new skills and find a new one.
I know the video that you're talking about, because in this video it's like a cartoon diagram, isn't it? And it shows you, and it was saying like it's not your fault if you've had an abusive father, but it is your responsibility to make sure that when you have kids that you treat them and you learn from it. And that video resonates with me so much, because ultimately you are inside your own consciousness 24/7. Like you can be listening to us. I'm talking to Jack now, but no matter what advice I give you or you give me, ultimately I'm not living inside your consciousness. So there isn't, like, obviously I can give you advice, but ultimately when the cameras are shut off, it's you that has to live with yourself.
Yeah.
So you owe it to yourself to be happy.
Yeah.
Like massively, you owe it to yourself to grow, to be happy. And that's another thing I want to stress and all. There's a lot of people that do go through trauma. By default, they feel guilty in a way for being happy, when in reality it shouldn't be that way at all. I'm just going to say it, man. It shouldn't. There's no reason. But then I do understand that trauma is a very complicated thing, especially domestic abuse survivors and all that kind of stuff. But there is no reason to sort of self-hate on yourself. And the sooner you get that, the sooner you can start moving on and being happy. You're allowed to be happy. Do you understand what I mean? If you've lost a child, you are allowed to be happy. That's one of the things that I've heard a lot, is when a parent loses a child, they feel guilty whenever they smile or whenever they laugh. When in reality, it's absurd. Do you understand what I mean? Absurd. And I felt like that with my, in relation to my sister.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's not a death sentence. It's something that you use and you grow with, and you move on with that trauma. Doesn't mean you forget, but you move on and you grow stronger from it.
I think you can almost use the template of fault versus responsibility in every hard. So let's use this current situation as an example, because it's relevant for people. It's not your fault that we were locked down. It's not your fault that the gyms were closed, but it's for damn sure your responsibility to make sure that doesn't impact your fitness routines, and make sure that it doesn't impact you hitting your goals, because that is your responsibility. Yeah. And it's not your fault that people die because of coronavirus, but it's your responsibility to not let that burden you and impact you in a way that controls your life, especially if it's a family member, and especially if, let's say, you were the one who's passed it on to them. You've got to take responsibility of what you can do after, and learn to say, okay, it's not my fault, but what am I going to take responsibility for?
Yeah, and that's why I put so much emphasis on sort of, particularly at the moment, is just limiting yourself to the news. Just you've got to limit yourself, because again, it's almost like a coping mechanism to that not wanting to take responsibility for anything, or I'm going to put this on, it's going to make me feel bad, and like for me, for example, my mindset would be if 3 years ago would be, I'm going to put the news on to make me feel bad, and then that's going to justify me ordering a takeaway, and then that's going to justify me not exercising, and then the list goes on and on and on, and because I'm blaming this person and I'm blaming that, when in reality, I've got my hands, I've got my feet. I can do a workout. I could do a workout right now if I wanted to. Let's be honest. Like, you can do a workout almost anywhere. It's like, well, I haven't got the access to a treadmill or anything. It's like, well, you can run outside.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
It's the same thing as when you were saying, oh, I could go for a walk, but it's really icy outside or it's really snowy.
Yeah.
It is. Or you could do David Goggins and you could go out there and walk when it's 50 below. And you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You've got to accept that is an active choice that you are making to not do that, and you can't use the news and the government to hide behind your poor choices. You've got to take responsibility and take responsibility for what you can do as well. Don't take responsibility for something that you can't control. Take responsibility for something that you can control and impact.
Yeah. And I think that's why a lot of people would maybe turn David Goggins off at first glance, is because they would almost be offended by it, when that's not the intention. The intention is to attack this subconscious need for comfort.
For comfort,
yeah. And to get out there, because when you see David Goggins, it's like, we're all capable of... We're not capable, obviously, of doing the level that he's at right now, but we're all capable of getting to that level, or we're all capable of, like, I was watching a Joe Rogan podcast, and he was saying, some woman was saying, my dad doesn't have enough energy to exercise, and he was like, well, can he walk to the fucking refrigerator? And she was like, yeah, well, and he was like, well, he can drag himself through an exercise routine. You can walk around the living room, you can do laps of the living room, you could start doing that, you know what I mean?
I think that was, I listened to that exact podcast, I know exactly what podcast you're talking about, and like you just said, you may not be able to do what Goggins can do now, but you'd be lying to yourself if you said you could never do it. If me and Lou could train and become better than David Goggins, we could. There's nothing genetically that's stopping us from doing that. We've both got working limbs, and we can both run. We can both we could do it if we trained hard enough. If we wanted it bad enough, you've just got to. You've got to want it bad enough. You've got to. You've got to accept that you can do anything. I was, again, listening to something that said nobody believed that it was humanly possible to run the sub 4 minute mile. And I can't remember his name. I wish I could remember his name, because that would make me sound really smart. But this guy, no one believed it could be done. Everyone said, it's humanly impossible to do it. And then this guy did it. And then after that, I think 14 other guys within the next 2 years did it.
Yeah.
All it takes is one person to believe it's possible and do it, for then everyone else to do it. Eddie Hall was the first person to ever deadlift 500 kilograms. That was an incredible achievement. It was a massive jump from what was ever thought to be humanly possible.
It was, wasn't it?
The next year, Thor does the same thing.
501 was
501.
Saw something because there was an Eddie Hall video, and it was like heart rate at, I think because he was doing boxing training.
Yeah,
you watch his video. I watch his videos all the time, but he was doing boxing training, and he was like heart rate reached 187, and someone in the comments had put Thor's next video heart rate reaches 193. And I was like, but back to that though, like. That I feel like that's why I fell in love with what Wim Hof was talking about, because Wim Hof did what was scientifically impossible, and he showed that he can be in these -degree temperatures underwater, but his core temperature is going to remain the same. He can. They injected him with I think it was E. coli, and it didn't affect him because of the way that he was. Well, because of the way that the core temperature and the water and the cold and the way that he's built his cells up to literally fight illness. And everyone was like, no, that's not possible. And it's like, no, he literally injected the E. coli and it just rejected it completely, which is unheard of.
Insane,
So
isn't it? It's insane.
yeah, it is insane. But I just
once you can it, because we both got it from Goggins, and anyone listening, please listen to David Goggins because it's just incredibly inspirational. The belief that you can do anything, and not just the belief, but the true acceptance that you could do anything you wanted, that is incredibly freeing and incredibly motivational. Because too many people are too quick to say, "Oh, I can't do that because of X. I can't do that because of X." You can do anything, and like anything.
Oh, you know what? I really want to touch on the Eddie Hall thing again, because when I think I started working out in Total Fitness in Newcastle when I was 14, and that was when we were all looking at Eddie, and because he was training, obviously he was training there, and he was deadlifting like monstrous amounts, man. It was crazy, and at this point, like I think he hadn't even won Britain's strongest man title, and then I remember like talk around the gym and stuff, and I remember hearing someone say, "Oh, he'll never win that," and then he won that, and then I remember hearing someone else say, "Yeah, he won that, but he'll never win World's Strongest Man," and then he won that. So it goes back to what you're saying, that it's always impossible until someone actually goes out there and does it. I never said that, by the way. I didn't fucking say that. I was always a big believer that people can pretty much do whatever they want. Like I in the situation of Eddie, as a 14-year-old kid watching him deadlift that amount, I was like, what the fuck is this? Do you know what I mean? Like, it was nuts. Honestly. Like, it was crazy. There was we were in the gym, and there was that many plates on his deadlift bar, and like the whole gym was like watching him, and it was like there was no plates anywhere else. I was like on the bench press. I was like, there's no fucking plates. Mate, it was nuts, but it was good. That was like 13 years ago now.
Yeah, I love the idea that you can do anything you want. I love that idea because it's so freeing, and some people get scared by that, and people get so scared by the fact that you can do anything that they automatically shut you down. It's like if a kid comes up to you and says, "Oh, I want to be a spaceman," they can do it.
Yeah.
Stop telling them that they can't do it, because they can.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? Like, if they want to be a space cowboy, they can do that.
Yeah. Who are you to tell them that they can't do that? Like, yeah.
I think people need to, and I think it's a good way to end the podcast talking about this, because people need to accept that it's always impossible until someone does it. And everyone's so quick to come up with reasons why you can't. You need to be the one who can tell them why you can. And you're always going to have people who tell you, "Oh, you can't do that because of X. You can't do that because of X." That's their problem. That's not your problem. You can do anything, and absolutely anything you want, but you've got to want it, and you've got to put the work in. You're not going to just get it.
Yeah, like, and I'm just going to say this real quick. That was exactly the mindset that I was in when I got shredded when I was 15. It was like walking to the gym, training at the gym, coming home, doing 40 minutes on the bike, 5 days a week. And it's like my mindset, all I could see was, because I made myself like an 8-week program.
Yeah.
And all I could see every day was me getting shredded. And then I was like 7 weeks in, and my mum took us to a McDonald's drive-through, and at the time, like, she didn't understand what what bodybuilding was.
Yeah.
So we went round the drive-through, and and she was like, "What's up? Why don't you want anything and all this? What's wrong with you?" So I was like, "All right, okay, I'll order some." I think I had like 6 nuggets, and I ate this chicken nuggets, and then I started crying because of it, because I was so fucking. I thought, "Oh my god, I've ruined all my progress."
Not the chicken nuggets.
So, but But that just goes to show how determined I was to not let anything stand in my way. Like, I think I went home that night, and because of that, those 6 chicken nuggets, which in reality was probably about 400 calories, I was on the bike for an extra hour. It's a bit extreme.
But it shows that if you want it bad enough, and to everyone listening, this is how we're going to end it. If you want it bad enough, you can do it. Anything. Absolutely anything. If you want it bad enough, you can do it. Do not let anyone say, oh, no, you can't because of this. Tell them to shut the fuck up.
If you want it bad enough, you will make time. Simple as that. Like, it doesn't matter what you've got going on. If you want it bad enough, if you want that job bad enough, if you want that person bad enough, you will make time. Yeah, you will, won't you?
You will make the time.
Yeah.
So take that, use that, and do something that you want, and go after it, go get it, and don't forget, whilst you're doing that, check up on your strong friend.